And we're going to talk about John. You teased this week, and I think this is true across the board. I don't think Badger fans should be alarmed that this is a bit of a slow period. As you mentioned, this is a slow period for everybody. But there was an interesting offer that went out. Cornerback Roderick Pleasant out of Gardena High School, California, track athlete, very, very fast, 5'10", and kind of a consensus top 100 guy. What are you hearing about Roderick Pleasant? What do you like about his game? Are the Badgers actually in this one?
Yeah, this is an interesting offer because he's a three-phase guy and a two-sport guy, like you mentioned, legitimate track and field speed in Los Angeles. So, I mean, anytime those factors come out, there's going to be a lot of schools clamoring for a verbal commitment. And that's the case with Rod. But I think the timing here is nice for Wisconsin because he's seemingly in no rush. I think he's taken an official or two. He's only taken one, excuse me. He's got two scheduled for the fall. I think that's Cal and the other schools blanking, maybe Oregon at this point. But he's got room for others. So even though he's got this top group, Boston College is in there as well, it seems like he's still open to allowing, kind of like we talked about, allowing his tape, his numbers on the track and field, his two-way game as a receiver and corner to blossom into potentially more options. I messaged with him a little bit earlier today, and I said, hey, I know Wisconsin's late to the game. Are they going to be in the mix? Or are they too late? He goes, immediately, yes, they will be in the mix. So I think, one, it's proof that Badger offer still absolutely resonates, particularly when we talk about defensive projections. I think it's something we've talked about at length on this program. And again, he's got no rush to make a decision. Some of those officials he has scheduled for the fall are in October. So now the next natural play here for Wisconsin is to get him on campus, right? He took one official, got two scheduled. So two officials are potentially on the table going forward. So if you can snag one of those two official visits, it's game on. And obviously with the Wisconsin schedule, with the Big Ten schedule and the type of opponents and atmosphere that is created seemingly every week, you can really present something different to a Californian. How many California guys, whether it's CJ Stroud, the Uyangalele brothers, etc., talk about, man, when I went east to these games, it just mattered more. People cared more about it, and it really resonates. That's why you see Californians not avoid, but leave the Pac-12 footprint altogether for the Texas schools, for the Big Ten programs, even all the way to the SEC and the ACC. And a lot of that has to do with the, I guess, perception of the passion in some of these conferences living up to it when they're there in person. And everybody will tell you that Camp Randall and Madison and all that is some of the best stuff in the country. So you get an official around a game day, particularly a big one, and it really is game on for a big-time player who's in no rush. I think Pleasant knows his value. He knows he brings a lot to the table, so schools are going to not pressure him and say, you have to commit now or their offer's off the table. Not the case. One more thing on Rod. I like the timing of the Wisconsin offer. August 1st is the day that the written offers, official offers, can be sent out to kids. Badgers came in the day before and let them know, hey, you've got an offer, expect the official offer tomorrow. It just hits a little bit different when all the buildup is for 24 hours away, but boom, you pop in the day before. I always, this time of year, especially and going forward, I'm always curious about the timing of offers. A lot of schools want kids to get on campus before they offer at this time, or they want to be strategic. And I thought that was a little bit strategic from whoever did it, whether it was Leonard or Poteet or whoever did it. I thought that was really good timing because, on August 1st, the DMs, the text box, inbox is going to be flooded by all these schools that you already know want you. They're just kind of confirming as much. So going in the day before, I thought was interesting from the Badger perspective.
Oh, that's great insight. Let me ask you this, because I think invariably this question is always going to come up from a fan base like a Wisconsin and Iowa, anything that kind of blue collar Midwestern type fan base. For a kid that like this, it's a 5'11" kid that can flat out run in an area with a lot of exposure, top 100 kid. Does it raise your eyebrows when you don't see the USC, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas type offers, when it's more of he has an official visit to Cal? And that's not a shot across the bow to Cal. It's just those type of what's missing, because it's not a lack of exposure or physical skills with this kid.
100%. I think he's talked about academics quite a bit in different points during his recruitment. So certainly Cal, Boston College. I mean, some of those schools make a lot of sense that are still in the running here. But again, I think I talked about this prior. When you grow up in Southern California, there's a bit of change of feel with those schools, those local programs, USC, UCLA. And I think the Trojans are interested. I think that's certainly an option, and they could press more going forward. Not that they're recruiting exceptionally well on defense outside of the Tackett Curtis pickup here recently. But I do think that, yeah, there's always a desire to travel and kind of see what else is out there to a degree, throw in the academics, and it just creates a different type of situation. I don't know Rod personally. Again, just a few messages exchanged between us, but I think he's in no rush for a reason. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe he thinks that he can
Hmm.
play at the very highest level. So he's waiting on, it's not going to be Ohio State. They're kind of full. Alabama's full. Texas is almost full as well at DB. So yeah, maybe he's waiting to see just what the ceiling of the opportunities that he'll eventually accumulate will be. Wanting to see just how many he can get before having to make a decision here, especially as a two-way player. I think that factors in as well because it takes a little bit more vetting. If you're a quarterback,
Hmm.
every school wants you to play quarterback. There's really that conversation never comes up. I think with Pleasant, you could legitimately sell him on being a slot receiver, a return type guy, jet sweeps, bubble screens. He's just so fast. But of course, I think he's got a bigger ceiling on defense with his instincts, ball skills, and speed as a true corner, maybe even a nickel down the line. So trying to identify where you actually want the kid sometimes allows the recruitment to elongate because kids don't know. We see it all over the country. Nicholas Harbor, the track and field star from DC, same kind of thing. Is he a tight end? Is he a pass rusher? Ronan Hannafin from up in Massachusetts, same thing. Are you an outside linebacker? Are you a big receiver? A lot of these two-way guys elongate the process just a little bit, just for that extra little spout of clarity. So I think that could potentially be at play here as well.
Hey, what about I was wondering this, and I know this question has come up before as well. When a program like Wisconsin or any out of state program, I should say, coming into a place where there's not a traditional pipeline, where a player is pretty highly ranked, and they kind of, again, as you said, things are always happening under the scenes that we don't see. But for fans, it's kind of an out of the blue offer. Is there usually an in somewhere for these kids, or is it more of just we found this guy, we like him?
It depends. I don't know, the camps he went to and that kind of stuff. But yeah, obviously coaches talk too. Coaches
Hmm.
talk a lot. I've seen dozens of examples, Ryan, where a coach is at a certain level of school and it goes at school and you have a kid at camp and you're like, we're going to recruit this kid, but he's probably too good for us. He's an FBS Power Five kind of kid. I see those coaches pick up the phone and say, hey, Big Ten school X, I got a kid down here who could really run. I think he's a little bit too much for us. We're going to try to recruit him, but he's probably better suited for you. Because all these coaches move around, right? All these coaches have
Right.
different experiences, different level of contact. So if we field these questions as reporters and we see these things happening as reporters, just imagine at the actual coaching level how much of that information is being shared. So I do think a lot of factors can jump into something like this. But yeah, oftentimes it's about the board reshuffling. And from a timeline perspective, I think you miss out on a Braden Marshall, who's the next corner on the board, that if we do miss out here, this scholarship offer could go out. Sometimes it's that simple. And Pleasant was just the next guy up on the board, and which kind of makes sense to me, right? I think Marshall a little bit more polished, more experienced as a true secondary player, corner or nickel type. Pleasant, a little bit more raw, a little bit more natural twitch in his game
Hmm.
as a potential nickel or corner. So you could kind of make the argument that one should be rated above the other, but it's close either way because they're very different in terms of their experience to this point. So sometimes it's that simple, right? This guy goes elsewhere. All right, next guy up. So maybe Rod is the next guy up for Wisconsin.